Welcome to Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio coverage of Fundraising Day 2014. We're in Times Square, New York City at the Marriott Marquis Hotel. And with me now are Christine Hughes and Vikki Jones. Christine is Director of Individual Giving and External Relations at the Westchester Medical Center Foundation. And Vikki Jones is Planned Giving Officer at Weill Cornell Medical College. Ladies, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you for inviting us.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad to have you. Thank you very much. Your seminar topic is it's all about communication. Vikki, let's start with you. Let's make it explicit. Why is communication so important?
Well, it's especially important in the world of planned giving. For many reasons, your donor may no longer be able to help you realize how the gift is to be allocated when the gift actually comes in. So communications and understanding the donor's intent, documenting that gift is very, very important.
And Christine, what do we see nonprofits not doing so well around communication?
Well, I think communication is the key to relationship building, and I think that is really the basis for our line of work. We have to, build strong, concise, and really just heartfelt relationships. And without good communication skills, you can't do that. So, we're focusing on internal communication.
Yeah, I was going to say you're focusing on the communication within the office.
Correct. So in order, I think, to have a strong outreach, you need to build a very strong infrastructure within the organization, and that's all based on communication and relationships.
Okay. Where do we get started with this?
So, do you want to take it, Vikki?
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So for me, I know...
Yeah, we don't do like volleyball or tennis or anything. It's okay. You can talk for a few minutes. We'll give Vikki a few minutes. It's okay.
Great. So I know for me, a lot of times the challenge has been to build internal communications, internal relationships. And one of I think the best way to start is just getting off your chair in your office and going around and visiting the other departments that you need to work closely with, developing strong relationships, inviting them out to lunch, making sure that you're all on the same page, figuring out how you can help each other, how you can work together. And I think it's a lot of fun. And one of the results I've had, and I'm sure Vikki would agree, is when you leave an organization, you leave with all of those wonderful network, that wonderful network and all those contacts.
So it's not always necessary to just send an email to a colleague who may be in the office next door, the cubicle down the hall. We can actually get up and go talk to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, email. Email is so misrepresented or misread in many cases. People will read a tone into something that may not even be there. So I think that when you have communicating face-to-face is a good idea. And then just really saying it was great talking with you. I think this is a great plan, and just reiterating what you decided to do based on those communication skills are very important.
Email, texting. I mean, haven't we sort of lost the art of face-to-face and the joy of face-to-face? I mean, isn't for me? I mean, so much more pleasurable to have a conversation where I can see the person. Now, a lot of times it's not feasible, but when it's just a walk down the hall, Vikki, I mean, shouldn't we take the walk?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Take the walk.
Okay. You have a lovely, deep bass voice.
Well,
are you a radio trained or opera singer or anything? Or?
I'm just coming back from either bronchitis or pneumonia. So,
wonderful.
You just got me in a good day, Tony.
Okay. I got it perfectly. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, let's go back, Christine. What are some strategies beyond what we've talked about so far? And we have a good amount of time together. What else should we be paying attention to internally?
Well, I'll just give you some examples of what I've done, and it's been fairly successful so far. But basically, again, identifying the key departments that you need to work with, figuring out how you can work together, and making it attractive for them. So, for instance, I'll just skip over. I know I'm in the world of healthcare, but in the world of education, admissions and advancement. If they can team up together, they can work together to pair alumni and incoming students and prospective parents And it's the most magical thing in the world, and it's so easy to do. But it's just, again, it's just forming that relationship. And we all know here that when relationships are going awry, the reason usually is because of communication breakdowns, miscommunication. So if we can really work on those skills and be very proactive, which I think is what we're talking about, I think we can really change the landscape. Again, building that internal network, building that internal structure really speaks volume when you step outside of that institution and go out into the community and start spreading the good word about that institution. If you've got a strong network inside, it is amazing what you can do.
You know, Tony, one of the wonderful things about working at Weill Cornell Medical College for 13 years is that I've built a lot of relationships, not only with my donors, several of the physicians and faculty at the university, at the medical college.
Yeah.
And we also, because in dealing with plan giving, you have to work with your director of operations. You have to also, in my particular case, work with Cornell University's Department of Gift and Trust Administration. And when you work with somebody and in that function in so many different ways, you're able to identify this is a problem. How are we going to be able to stop this from happening or reoccurring again? What are the steps that we can ensure that this will not happen?
And you have that relationship, the history, so that you're not only going to your colleagues when there's a problem, but you have a long history of working together around problems and in very smooth times, so that when a problem does develop, you've got that history behind you.
Right. So
Absolutely.
One of my favorite things to do too, and then now speaking more towards the medical side of it, is just taking doctors out to coffee and identifying what it is their funding opportunities are, what their hopes and dreams are, and then when you sit down and talk to donors and they're expressing a certain wish to be a part, have a philanthropic footprint at your institution, it's really wonderful because you have all this knowledge in your head about the doctors and the researchers and what it is they want to move forward with. So
I think a lot of what we're talking about is just consciousness. You have to be conscious of deepening relationships, getting up from your chair, going to talk to colleagues, going to lunch with colleagues. It seems, so basic, but we've lost consciousness, I think, about a lot of these things.
Tony, one of the things I've been working on in the past year is to try and break down the silos in plan giving. There are many gift officers that I work closely with that will work together in meeting with a donor and discussing the donor situation with the donor on the telephone or meet with them together. And what I try to do is I try to make sure that my colleague gets a shout out when any kind of plan gift happens, even if it comes through the annual fund. Let's say perhaps somebody passed away. All right, I always look at the donor's giving history, and then I'll say, so-and-so passed away. We just received $250,000 through their estate plan towards cancer research. They gave for years to Dr. Ann Moore's breast cancer research. And I help the people that have been working and building the program know that they've been successful in a way they're not maybe realizing. So it helps them build their understanding of plan giving and make them a little more secure.
But the concern among a lot of fundraisers is that if I give credit elsewhere, then I've diminished my contribution to the gift. I mean, you're a planned gift officer, and you're giving credit to the annual fund. A lot of people would think that, well, now my vice president or director of development may not appreciate my role in that gift. How do we overcome that thinking?
What I try to do is I try and say, this is, I laugh and I tell people, I don't get paid commission, so it really doesn't matter. But what I want to do is to show a series of building relationships, of working with gift officers, working in collaboration. We're trying to say that as gift officers, major gift officers, working with our donors, we want to be able to tell them, yes, I have thought about maybe including you in the will. I want my gift officers to work with me on a one-to-one level so that they can hear me saying to the donor, oh, I'm sorry, I have to ask just a couple of questions, and I hope they're not too sensitive. And that reassures the gift officers in understanding and feeling a little more comfortable themselves in approaching those questions. So as far as getting credit, we're working towards making metrics for our major gift officers and principal gift officers that they work or assist on a planned gift or 2 or 3 within a quarter. But we're beginning to incorporating that, and by incorporating that, we're encouraging people to work together in a more collaborative manner.
Christine, is there another thought that you might have around measuring employees' methods of collaboration so that it sort of becomes part of their formal evaluation process?
Well, one of my experiences just recently, too, has been that when you collaborate, it really inspires you to think outside of the box. So normally, funding sources that everyone thinks about, again, we're all sort of going after those individual donors, corps and founds, things like that. And recently, it just, I was sitting in a meeting and I heard a doctor give a presentation, and it reminded me of the research that was going on at a pharmaceutical company not too far away from where we're located. So it sort of opened up my creative juices to maybe start having talks with that pharmaceutical company to underwrite some of the research that we were doing. That really, it was a great match.
Yeah.
And so I was able to work with the doctor, other team members. So we have team members on our development staff that are corps and founds, corporate relations. So we were able to really pull in my individual giving experience with corps and founds, with the doctor and the researcher, and then the senior staff. And it was an incredible collaboration, and it's been very successful. So I love the way that Vikki talks to the collaboration and how important it is and how it's being measured. But what I think the part that really astounds me is the amount of just ingenuity that is a result of innovativeness that's a result of that collaboration.
Vikki, you're doing a lot of nodding.
Oh, yeah. That's what I love about Plan Giving. I used to joke around with one of my former directors, and I said, it's kind of like McDonald's. Do you want deal number 1, deal number 2, deal number 3? It's like once you get together with your donor and you're talking about what are they interested in, then you start thinking, oh, there's a project. And, how much money do they think they can do? Do they realize they could stretch it out over 5 years? Do they realize that they might be able to create a charitable lead trust that could provide a income for their child? And at the same time provide a sizable gift to the medical college.
Yeah.
Those are the exciting things. And I think that when everybody starts talking about possibilities, that's what's amazing.
That deal 1, 2, and 3 also reminds me of Monty Hall. Let's make a deal.
I was on Let's Make a Deal in my early 20s.
Let's make a deal? What was your costume?
I had a green cutout piece of cardboard, and my sign said, Monty, don't be a gurk, let's make a deal.
Don't be a gurk. There's a dill in there. Let's make a dill. You didn't say let's make a dill, did you?
Let's make a deal.
Oh, you did?
D-I-L-L.
Don't be a gurk. Let's make a dill.
Correct.
Did Monty pick you?
I did get picked.
You did?
I did.
Did you need have a rubber band or a paper clip or something that he was? I'll give $5 for the next rubber band.
No, I was offered door number 1, 2, and 3.
And how did you do?
I did well. I walked away with $25,000.
Oh my goodness! No kidding. That's and yeah, that's outstanding.
Yeah, and a box of New York candy bars. Go figure.
Yeah, it's better than a case of canned squid behind door number 3.
There you go, the zonk.
So that was the big deal. You won the big deal?
No, it was the first deal of the day.
Oh, it wasn't even the big deal. Did he ask you if you wanted to trade yours?
Oh yeah, I traded every door.
Wait, but you didn't trade yours in, though.
No, I think that's where I got my first experience in looking at Plan Giving. Like, do I really want to do this, or how about that?
Yeah. So you held on to your $25,000 deal.
I spent it quickly.
Yeah. Congratulations! Oh, that's great. How cool! See that? Glad I mentioned that. By the way, the lights. I don't know. Did you notice the overhead lights went out? But Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio with Casey Crown. The lights our lights never dimmed. We go right through that, so it doesn't matter here. Bring on an earthquake. I don't know. There's an earthquake coming, but no, that's true. Yeah, don't do that. Okay. Well, what else? Communications. Your seminar description. It's all about communication. You mentioned events. Things can go wrong. Miscommunications around events. Does somebody have a story about that, or some admonition or something specific about events?
Each one of us are doing a certain topic. I'm sure that both Christine and I could talk about snaffers and events, a lot of them, but we're actually today, the workshop I'm going to be leading is called A Donor, a Disease, and a Doctor. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about how a donor came and decided he wanted to support Huntington's research, and he wanted to be with one of our top physicians that was doing research in that department. And then we're going to talk about the communications that happened involving the deal of, what he wanted to fund, And the snafus with this started with the fact that he was talking with the director of Plant Giving at New York Presbyterian Hospital, and many of you and our donors also were confused as to what's New York Presbyterian Hospital, Weill Cornell Medical Center.
Well, talk about communications. I mean, now that's not your department, is branding and marketing, but that is you're absolutely right. That is critical. There was a lot of misunderstanding just in the general population of New York City. Where the heck New York Presbyterian and Weill Cornell end and begin?
Well, it's a wonderful partnership, but what happens is when we're working with our donors, we really have to listen to what they're talking about supporting. In this particular case, the donor met with the director of Plant Giving and the head of the department, and they did a little walkthrough, and the doctor discussed the kind of research he was doing. And the donor was in love with everything that was going on and said, "This is great. I want to include something in my estate plan. I want to fund an assistant professorship or maybe a full professorship." Mm-hmm. And at that point, the director of Plant Giving for New York Presbyterian Hospital went, "I'm going to have to give you to the medical college because the professorships are with the college." So we have a collaborative work method.
You need to be working together.
Exactly. Yeah. So he introduced me to the donor, and we put together a suggested bequest language for the donor to help achieve his goal.
Okay, in a collaboration.
Well, actually, he handed it off to me.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, because after that point, once you realize that the gift is really going to benefit another organization, as Plant Giving professionals, we all have an ethical standard we have to adhere to. And so, knowing that the professorship was, through the medical college, he couldn't facilitate the gift, and he kindly directed the donor in the right direction.
Christine, what are you sharing?
So basically, I'm talking about something that Vikki mentioned earlier about de-siloing, and I gave you a quick example in the educational arena that I used to work in. And just this morning, I had a meeting with a donor I had been trying to get a meeting with for 9 months, and the key to the meeting was the chaplaincy at the hospital. The chaplain, one of the chaplains at the hospital, this particular donor was very connected to him personally, and it was because of that relationship that I was able to get the meeting and working with him in collaboration. So here I am, fundraiser, working with a chaplain to just educate the donor, thank the donor for their gift, and then to educate the donor on the programs that are coming up, to see if there was anything she'd be interested in funding in the future. And it's like magic. I think Vikki would agree. It's amazing when you have those internal relationships and those collaborations. The strength of your meeting is phenomenal. And I think that really shines through to the donor. So you're really presenting a well-unified, well-educated, you're well-educated, you're unified, and I think it just presents a great picture to the donor.
And you feel the key to those relationships is communication.
Absolutely. So I'm one to always get up from my chair and, walk to somebody's office or walk around the hospital or, go and visit a physician. I think the best place to have those informal meetings is the cafeteria and the coffee shop. And those are sometimes some of my best meetings. Internally, just catching up with people, finding out how they're doing, finding out what they did on the weekend, and all that time you're building those great trusting relationships internally.
Yeah, Vikki, I see you doing a lot of nodding.
Yeah, because that's the wonderful thing I love is I love building relations. I've always been a people person. In addition to being Plant Giving officer at Weill Cornell Medical College, I'm also the president of the Philanthropic Planning Group of Greater New York. And what I really like about that organization is the closeness of the relationship between Plant Giving people throughout the entire community. And, it's great to have relationships that build over the years. One of the things that we know by staffing donors, and since I've been there for 13 years, it's really quite unusual in the non-for-profit world, is that unfortunately I've seen some of my gifts become realized, but I've developed relationships with my donors who at one time wanted to make a gift for cancer research because they knew somebody who had cancer.
Sure.
And then what happened is they learned about stem cell or the genome, and they're so excited about the science that's happening today. They're like, "Oh, Vikki, tell me more about this. What's going on with that?" And they want our donors really want to know more about basic science and about what are we doing and how are we curing diseases and what do you mean some forms of lymphoma are now curable. They're very excited. They have this huge, diversion of interest. Now,
And what's the lesson in communications to
you have
all
to
that?
keep fluid, because usually what happens in a medical institution, our gift officers work in either neuro, cancer, they work in pods, surgery.
Breaking down those silos, the way
Right,
you had said
because-
earlier and Christine said. Yeah.
Exactly, because even though you have a cancer donor, their interests might change, but it's building a relationship with the donor that you're able to really truly understand.
You got to get outside your own world.
Exactly.
Ladies, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tony.
My pleasure. Christine Hughes, Director of Individual Giving and External Relations at Westchester Medical Center Foundation, and Vikki Jones, Planned Giving Officer for Weill Cornell Medical College. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks much,
My
Tony.
pleasure.
Bye-bye.
You're listening to Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio coverage of Fundraising Day 2014.